Welcome to another episode of People Pod. Let's start today with a scenario that, for teenager is basically the end of the world.
Oh, yeah. High stakes.
Right. So imagine you are 14 years old. You live in this tiny rural town, but you have this massive voice, And against all odds, you've actually landed a trip to Nashville.
Which is the dream, right?
Exactly. You are sitting in an office, literally on the verge of signing a major development deal with Capitol Records. You can taste it.
You've made it. Or so you think.
Right. And then, at the absolute last second, the label undergoes a management change.
Oof.
Yeah. The new executives, they just clean house and they cancel your contract. The door just slams shut.
That is the kind of early, profound rejection that usually defines a person's entire life.
Seriously.
It's the origin story of 1,000 bitter musicians out there.
But in this case, the response is what's truly shocking. Because you don't get mad. You don't vow to, prove them all wrong.
Right.
You just completely give up on music. You decide the dream is dead. You go off to college to study journalism. And you resign yourself to a very sensible, practical life. Working at a zoo and a pizzeria.
Which is such a pivot.
It really is. Yet, just a few short years later, you accidentally become the most successful reality TV contest winner in history.
And eventually, the highest certified female country artist of all time.
It's just wild.
It really defies almost every conventional rule of the music industry. So today we are taking a deep dive into the sources documenting the life and career of Carrie Underwood.
Yes.
And the mission of this deep dive isn't just to, recap her Wikipedia page. We are looking at a stack of chart histories, biographical profiles, and industry analysis to really understand the mechanics of her trajectory.
Because it's not just luck.
Exactly. We want to understand how timing, seizing absolute creative control, and utilizing deeply unexpected influences.
Like a secret obsession with heavy metal.
Yes, like her secret love for metal. How all of that can help anyone entirely redefine what's possible for their life.
Because what the sources show is that her journey is just a masterclass in defying expectations. But to really grasp how she did this, we have to look at the environment that shaped her before that Capitol Records deal fell apart.
Right, the early days.
Yeah, we're talking about Chakotah, Oklahoma.
Right. To understand the decisions she makes later in her career, you have to understand this foundational grounding. So she grew up on a farm.
Okay.
Her father worked in a paper mill, and her mother was an elementary school teacher. This was a thoroughly working class upbringing.
Very salt of the earth.
Exactly. Her early performing experience wasn't in slick Hollywood studios or highly produced pageants. She was singing at the First Free Will Baptist Church and, for the local Lions Club.
So she has this very classic small-town origin story. And then we hit 1997. She's 14, a local admirer helps get her to Nashville, and she secures that deal with Capitol Records.
The big break.
The big break. But as we just discussed, the company management changes, and the deal just evaporates. Now, I read a lot of music biographies, and I have to point out how wildly this breaks the mold.
Oh, completely.
Usually, the struggling artist takes that rejection, huge chips form on their shoulders, and they spend the next 5 years hustling in local honky-tonks.
Playing for tips.
Right. Refusing to take no for an answer.
Well, the industry relies on that desperation. That is the engine of Nashville.
Yeah.
But she simply didn't play that game. She genuinely walked away from the table. She graduated high school as salutatorian.
Which is no small feat.
Right. And then she went to Northeastern State University and pursued a bachelor's degree in mass communication with an emphasis in journalism. And she graduated magna cum laude.
Wait, magna cum laude?
Yes. She was incredibly focused. And she spent her summers waiting tables at a pizzeria, working at a veterinary clinic, and, as you mentioned earlier, working at a zoo.
I am just fascinated by the psychology of this. She truly believed the singing dream was a childhood fantasy that had simply expired.
And that pivot into a normal life, that is the absolute key to her future success.
Really? How so?
Think about the psychological armor she built during those years. By decoupling her self-worth from the music industry, she removed the desperation.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Right. That practical grounding, the pizza parlor, the journalism degree, the sorority charity work, it acted as an anchor.
So she wasn't desperate for fame.
Exactly. When the sheer, terrifying chaos of American Idol hit her life just a few years later, she wasn't a fragile child star seeking validation from executives.
Right. She was an educated young adult with a solid backup plan.
Which changes the entire power dynamic.
It really does. So let's look at that explosion. In mid-2004, she auditions for American Idol in St. Louis.
The famous audition.
Yeah, and she just dominates the entire season. During the top 11 episode, Simon Cowell, who, let's remember, was famous for just tearing people down.
Oh, he was brutal.
Brutal. But he makes an incredibly bold prediction. He tells her she won't just win the competition. He says she will outsell every previous winner.
He saw the mechanics of her appeal immediately.
Yeah.
And, well, he was absolutely right. But the real test in reality television is always what happens after the confetti falls.
Because so many of them just disappear.
Right. Most winners fade quickly because they don't actually know how to navigate the music business. But in 2005, her debut single, Inside Your Heaven, it makes her the first country artist ever to debut at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100.
That's incredible. But wait, I want to pause here and look at her debut album, Some Hearts, which drops later that year.
Okay, yeah.
Because our sources highlight the song Before He Cheats. Now, we often think of massive, generation-defining hits as these viral, overnight sensations, right? They just immediately take over the world.
Like a flash in the pan.
Exactly. But the data shows that Before He Cheats had the slowest climb ever to the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100. It broke a record previously held by the rock band Creed.
Which is a fun piece of trivia.
Right. But if this song is such a cultural juggernaut, why on earth did it take 38 weeks to hit the top 10?
It's a brilliant question, and it really comes down to the underlying mechanics of country radio syndication.
Okay, break that down for us.
So, pop radio often operates on hype, right? A song drops, it's heavily promoted, it peaks in a week, and then it vanishes. But country radio operates heavily on something called call-out research.
All-out research. What does that mean in practice?
It means radio stations literally play short snippets of a song to listeners over the phone or online and ask them to rate it.
Like taking a survey.
Exactly. They are testing for fatigue. A slow burn on the charts means a song isn't just riding a wave of initial marketing. It means it is surviving week after week of listener testing without people getting sick of it.
Oh, wow. So it's building an organic, relentless word-of-mouth momentum.
Precisely. By the time it finally hit the top 10, it wasn't just a fleeting trend. It was cemented into the culture. That's why it eventually went 11 times platinum.
That is wild. So the slow climb is actually a metric of invincibility. It proves the song is basically undeniable.
It does. But even with that monumental success, the sources show she wasn't content to just be, the reality TV girl who sang the hits handed to her by executives.
This is where that independent streak from her college days really resurfaces, doesn't it?
Absolutely. By her second album, Carnival Ride, in 2007, she actively takes the reins. Now, to understand how rare this is, we need to talk about Music Row.
Right, which isn't just a nickname. It's an actual physical place in Nashville.
Exactly. It's this network of streets, housing, publishing companies that operate almost like hit-making factories.
Like an assembly line for songs.
Very much so. Professional songwriters clock in, they write songs, and pitch them to A&R executives.
Yeah.
And then those executives hand them out to artists.
Got it.
For a reality TV winner, the expectation is that you quietly accept the songs Music Row gives you. You interpret, you don't create.
But she bypassed the factory entirely. Our sources show she set up a writer's retreat at the historic Ryman Auditorium. She brought heavy-hitting songwriters directly to her to collaborate. How does a move like that shift the power dynamic for an artist?
It changes everything, mechanically and financially. By co-writing the tracks, including what became a #1 hit, she is securing publishing rights.
And that's where the real money is.
Exactly. Publishing is where the money and control lie in music. But more importantly, she is controlling her own narrative. She is proving to the label that she isn't just a voice for hire. She is the architect of her own career.
And the industry just couldn't ignore that architecture. I mean, our sources detail a staggering list of achievements.
Oh, the list is huge.
She became the first woman to win the Academy of Country Music's Entertainer of the Year award twice, and then later a third time.
Unprecedented.
Yeah, and she won the incredibly rare ACM Triple Crown, which means she won New Female Vocalist, Top Female Vocalist, and Entertainer of the Year over the course of her career. Plus, she earned an induction into the Grand Ole Opry by Garth Brooks.
I mean, we're talking about 16 #1 singles on the country airplay chart.
Just dominate.
But honestly, what I find most compelling in these sources isn't the list of trophies. It's what is lurking beneath that pristine, rhinestoned country pop image.
Yes. I have to admit, This is the most baffling and amazing detail from all of our research.
It's so
If
good.
you look at Carrie Underwood, you see the elegant gowns, the blonde hair, the quintessential country superstar. But secretly, she is a massive hard rock and nu metal fan.
Yes.
When I read that, I genuinely had to do a double take.
I know, it seems like a total contradiction. But musically, it makes perfect sense. She grew up listening to bands like Queen, Guns N' Roses, and the Rolling Stones.
Okay.
She has explicitly credited vocalists like Freddie Mercury and Axl Rose for teaching her how to actually sing.
And she didn't just leave it in her childhood either.
No, not at all.
Because recently, during American Idol audition phase where she was judging, a contestant sang some heavy nu metal like Korn's Freak on a Leash and Drowning Pool's Bodies.
And she absolutely lit up.
She did. She revealed she listened to a ton of nu metal back in high school. And she brings us into her live shows, too.
Right.
She covered Ozzy Osbourne's Mama, I'm Coming Home. She literally flew to London to surprise fans at a Guns N' Roses concert and sing with them, and had Axl Rose join her at the Stagecoach Festival.
But, and this is what I don't get, how does listening to Korn actually help you sing country music?
Well, it really comes down to vocal physiology and technique. Think about what is required to sing hard rock or nu metal.
A lot of screaming.
Kind of, yeah. You are projecting over a wall of distorted, incredibly loud guitars. You cannot do that just from your throat, or you will completely shred your vocal cords in one night.
Oh, that makes sense.
You need immense diaphragmatic support, and you have to master mixing your chest voice and head voice to create a soaring, aggressive belt.
So she isn't just putting on a twang, she's actually using rock mechanics.
Precisely. She's applying the vocal mechanics of arena rock to country storytelling. That's what gives her music that distinctive stadium-filling power.
She's taking the raw, unfiltered aggression of metal and wrapping it in this polished country package.
But for a long time, the rawness was strictly kept to her vocal technique because her public image remained incredibly polished.
Good.
Until we hit the period leading up to her 2018 album, Cry Pretty.
Yes, and this is a really crucial turning point. Between 2017 and 2018, that polished exterior was shattered by a series of severe physical and emotional traumas.
It was a really dark period for her.
It was. Shortly after hosting the CMA Awards in 2017, she suffered a terrible fall at her home. It resulted in a broken wrist and required numerous stitches in her face.
Oh, wow.
She vanished from the public eye for months to heal, even warning fans she might look a bit different when she returned.
But the sources reveal that behind the scenes, the trauma was far heavier than just a physical injury. Because between the births of her 2 sons, she suffered 3 miscarriages.
Yeah. She later spoke about the profound psychological toll this took. And imagine the cognitive dissonance there.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Right. She is experiencing these horrific, heartbreaking losses in her private life, but the machine of her career dictates that she has to put on makeup, go do photo shoots, smile for interviews, and pretend everything is perfect.
The pressure to maintain that shiny exterior while grieving like that, it must have been suffocating.
It forced a massive reckoning. She realized she couldn't just sing bubbly pop country while she was in that headspace.
Right.
And it resulted in Cry Pretty, which is undoubtedly her most emotional, raw work. And significantly, she chose to co-produce this album herself.
Now, why is the self-production detail so important here?
Because production dictates the emotional resonance of an album. When you hand your vocals to an outside producer, they might, smooth out the rough edges.
Add that Nashville gloss.
Exactly. Add gloss or compress the vocals to make them sound perfectly radio-friendly. By co-producing, she maintained absolute control over how her vulnerability was presented to the world. If her voice broke slightly because she was emotional on a track, she could choose to leave that in.
She completely refused to let the industry sanitize her reality.
Yes.
And this theme of refusing to be controlled by Nashville's expectations, it extends far beyond just her music.
It really does.
We need to talk about how she handles her public persona. The sources highlight instances where she directly defies the unwritten rules of country music. Now, to be clear, looking at this objectively, what stands out isn't about whether her political stances are right or left.
Right, that's not the point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is the sheer rarity of a Nashville artist breaking the cardinal rule, which is never rock the boat.
That is the core mechanism of the Nashville machine. Country music has a very long, complicated history of financially and socially punishing artists who step outside expected ideological lines.
We've seen it happen.
Countless times. But she has repeatedly done so when a cause aligns with her personal values, completely regardless of the backlash.
Let's look at the ag-gag bill controversy in 2013.
Yeah.
So she's a longtime vegetarian and animal advocate. Tennessee lawmakers were trying to pass a bill that, on paper, sounded like it was about preventing animal cruelty. It required activists who undercover videotaped animal cruelty at large agricultural facilities to turn the footage over to authorities almost immediately.
Right. But the actual mechanics of the bill, they were designed to protect agribusiness.
How so?
Well, if you are forced to turn over footage within 24 or 48 hours, it becomes illegal to conduct a long-term, month-long undercover sting.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you can capture one isolated incident, but you are legally prevented from gathering enough evidence to prove systemic, ongoing abuse.
Wow. So it effectively criminalizes the investigation itself.
Essentially, yes.
So she goes on Twitter, tags the governor of Tennessee, and publicly begs him not to sign it. And in response, a Tennessee state representative essentially told her to stick to singing and let him stick to lawmaking.
The classic shut up and sing directive.
Exactly.
And this is where that 14-year-old girl who learned she didn't need the industry comes back into play. She did not issue an apology. She did not back down. She fired back on Twitter, stating that she was a tax-paying citizen who was concerned for the safety of her family and consumers, and that she had every right to voice her opinion.
She completely rejects the idea that being an entertainer strips you of your citizenship.
Completely.
And we see this exact same independence in 2012 regarding same-sex marriage.
Yes. She publicly stated her support for same-sex marriage, which, I mean, especially in 2012 in the country music sphere, was highly taboo.
Oh, extremely.
But what's interesting is how she framed it. She didn't use, coastal political talking points. She specifically rooted this belief in her faith.
She noted that her evangelical church in Nashville was actually gay-friendly.
Right.
Her statement was simple and direct. She said, above all, God wanted us to love others, and that it wasn't her place to judge anybody.
By framing it through her faith and her rural Oklahoma roots, she really challenged the assumption that all country fans or Southern Christians think monolithically. She completely subverted the expectations of what a church-raised country star, quote-unquote, should be.
It takes a massive amount of courage to speak out in an industry that absolutely demands conformity.
It really does.
But when you pull all these threads together, the new metal vocal power hiding inside a country ballad, the journalism degree anchoring the reality TV star, the animal rights activism, the heart-wrenching control of Cry Prove You Can, you realize she isn't playing a character.
No, not at all.
She's a synthesizer of all these seemingly contradictory parts.
And that synthesis is what creates a lasting legacy rather than just a fleeting moment of fame.
Which really brings us back to where we started. Think about that 14-year-old girl who lost her Capitol Records contract.
Yeah.
She was recently asked to reflect on that massive failure, and her response was incredibly telling.
What'd you say?
She said, I honestly think it's a lot better that nothing came out of it now, because I wouldn't have been ready then. Everything has a way of working out.
I mean, that is a profound level of self-awareness.
Isn't it?
If she had signed that deal at 14, she would have been shoved straight into the Nashville development pipeline.
Yeah.
She likely would have been chewed up and spit out by the industry machine, as so many child stars unfortunately are. They would have told her what to sing, how to dress, and who to be.
Instead, she got the one thing the industry rarely gives artists. She got time.
Time to just be normal.
Exactly. She got to go to college. She got to mature. She got to figure out who she actually was outside of a recording booth so that when the world finally handed her a microphone again, she was strong enough to hold onto it with both hands.
She built a foundation that the industry simply couldn't shake.
And that leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over today. Think about your own life. We all face moments where a door suddenly slams shut in our face.
We do.
But what if that rejection isn't actually a failure? What if it's just a necessary delay?
A pivot.
Right. What if stepping back to be practical for a while, working at the metaphorical pizza parlor or zoo, is exactly the incubation period you need?
That's a great way to frame it.
Maybe you're not quitting on your dream. Maybe you are just building the armor you need to survive it when the time is exactly right.
It's a completely different way to look at our setbacks.
It really is.
Thanks for listening to People Pod. Keep tuning in for more stories worth knowing.